Thanks for tuning in to NFL Talk on the Our Lads Football Network as we preview Week 3. And it's already underway. We are recording as Thursday night football game is taking place. I'm sure that's going to be a ratings bonanza. But there'll be some pretty cool primetime games coming up later this week. And some monumental games coming up next week in Week 4. But before that, we have Week 3 games. Ryan Dunleavy joining me. Ryan, how's everything going?
It's been a day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The old computer problem issue.
The old computer problems.
Yeah, that's a bad one. All right, so let's just kind of put a bow tie to last week. What do you think the headline was for last week? What was the thing you remember the most about last week's action? Was it the Baltimore-Kansas City game?
Yeah, I mean, that's what everybody talks about. I was trying to give you something a little different than that. I mean, obviously, John Harbaugh's faith in Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh's faith in Lamar Jackson was what everybody thought, comes away with. And really, for me, obviously, I'm kind of New York-centered. For me, it comes down to I've never seen a game end like the Giants-Washington game ended on a second chance field goal because of an offside penalty. I've never, ever seen that. So you have crazy games to bookend the weekends. I mean, Giants never should have lost that game. Baltimore probably should have never lost its game. And then Kansas City should have never lost its game. And then you have the way, a coach with the Giants, who they didn't show faith in their quarterback. They got conservative at the end and paid for it. And then you have a coach in the Ravens and Harbaugh who was aggressive with his quarterback, and they won the game because of it. Because we all know if they punted, they were giving the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs were winning that game. Edwards-Helaire was not touching it again, and they were going to win the game. And my other takeaway is the Bucs are so good. It's not too soon for me to talk about them going undefeated.
Okay. All right.
It's not too soon for me to talk about it.
I think they've got a ways to go for that. I actually think they're going to lose this week. But
okay.
I love the games, though. The matchup with the Rams will be a big one, obviously. It's in L.A. Rams beat them last year. Tampa Bay actually started off as the dog, and that quickly changed. Tampa Bay's back to being the favorite. And then next week, it's the Brady Bowl coming up in New England. So that's going to be awesome, just following everything that's going to take place next week. Look, that Tampa Bay Atlanta game was just too close in the fourth quarter, and then back-to-back interceptions. And Matt Ryan, even though statistically he had a good game, it just once again shows you there's something off with Matt Ryan right now. But it was almost like Tampa Bay was like, okay, when do we have to win? And we'll turn it up when we have to. And they did it. As far as the Baltimore-Kansas City game, I mean, that was just, if Baltimore loses that game, all Kansas City has to do is run a couple more plays, kick the field goal, the game is over, and Baltimore's 0-2. That shows you how close, a season can be changed that quickly, because 0-2 teams don't usually go on to have really good seasons. I don't know what says about Kansas City, because they've given up 450 yards of total offense the first 2 weeks of the season. They've been outgained in both games.
Yeah.
That's not good. And
we've seen,
go ahead.
We've seen Super Bowl contenders who are all offense, no defense, and it doesn't usually end well for them.
And I didn't even think about it until I was reading the newsletter, Mark Lawrence's newsletter this week, when he just he said something, just one sentence about it. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's right. The Kansas City Chiefs were Super Bowl losers. And you know what happens to Super Bowl losers. So we talked about that last year and how it just decimated San Francisco with injuries and bad luck. And, the Rams the year before that. It happens a lot, not all the time. But it seems to happen a lot to the team who loses the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs not off to a good start. And that Giant Washington game, like you were saying, that was I'm sure you guys probably had a lot to talk about on Friday. I can't imagine. You probably had so much to talk about that you probably forgot what to talk about. There was so much just in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that game feels like it was 2 weeks ago for me.
Yeah, it is.
But
Yeah, it does feel that way because it's
yeah, it was
almost 8 days away, a whole week.
crazy game. The lead changed hands four times in the final 5 minutes.
And Taylor Heineke, again, that's nice to see that a good young quarterback is playing well. Here's the other thing with the Giants, and we can kind of talk about that to segue into this Atlanta game is and we talked about this last year. Daniel Jones has got to run the football. Whether it's by design or I don't have a guy open, there's a little room to run, I'm gonna go. But Daniel Jones is so much more effective when the offense basically says, we're giving into the fact that he may have to deal with hits, but that's the only way Daniel Jones is going to be a very successful quarterback in this league, and we have to take that chance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's kind of the Giants' best way to go on offense. We asked Saquon today if he, feels like it's an insult at all that a quarterback leads his team in rushing, and Abe basically said what you would expect him to say, which is, "I don't care as long as we win games." And it sounds cliche, but around the Giants, I think it's so true. I think everybody's just tired of losing and losing and losing. I don't think they would care if an alien led them in rushing yards.
Yeah. So we'll see if that continues because it has to. Because I mean, the perfect run. And was that the one that they called back, the one he ran for 50 yards? Or was that the one? Did he have two of those?
No, the 41-yarder count. Oh, Jones?
Yeah.
They called that one back. The 55-yard touchdown run became the 41-yard run with a holding
and
penalty.
That was perfect.
Cost the Giants 4 points.
Yeah. Yep. And that was a perfect play call that I think they should call a lot more often. Giants are a 3-point favorite in this game. And here's your freaky trend of the week for the Giants. The Giants are 11-1-1 against the spread their last 13 games following a Thursday night football matchup. So your freaky New York.
So what does that take you back to 1984 or something like that?
Your freaky New York Giants trend of the week. It's not the reason I'm taking the Giants. I'm just taking the Giants because I just think they're better than Atlanta. I've seen Atlanta the last 2 weeks, and even though that game, like I said, was close with Tampa Bay, that was an ugly close. I just think the Giants are a little bit better right now than the Falcons.
Yeah, I would pick the Giants too, actually, and I never picked the Giants. I picked them to score 6 points week 1 and 9 points week 2. The offense showed me something. I would pick the Giants. The Falcons' defense is obviously in shambles. Yep. So I would pick the Giants in this game.
Okay. Speaking of Washington, this is going to be one of your top picks of the week. It's actually taking a look here, going to be your 4-star pick of the week, Washington +8. I also like Washington in the game as one of my picks, but not one of my top picks. They're almost a 3-1 on the money line. I was tempted, but okay, I'll take the 8. Buffalo even though they beat up on Miami, once Tua was out of the game, it's like Miami had nothing. And it wasn't a very pretty game. And something's going on with Josh Allen and this Buffalo offense. It's almost like what we expected of this Buffalo offense last year. Because remember when we talked about how difficult it is for quarterbacks that are not very accurate in college and they become accurate in the pros. And you pointed out, well, take a look at Josh Allen. He is actually one of the very few guys that has taken his accuracy up in the pros. But now it's almost like he's going back to being that inaccurate quarterback again.
No, it's their offense has been a little bit alarming, and it's crazy to say about a team that won 35-0 last week. But the reason I'm picking Washington is because I'm just not sure the Bills are clicking on all cylinders yet. I think this might be what you betting experts call a backdoor cover. I could see something like that.
Possible, yeah, because that means even if Buffalo's up 14, Washington can make it close. But I actually think it'll be a normal cover. I think it'll be a close game throughout. And Washington's defense, look, we know how talented they are up front. But the first couple of games of the season, including the Giants, the secondary just hasn't looked very good at all. It looks like if you can find ways to protect yourself, your quarterback, you'll be able to pick the Washington defense apart.
Yeah, the Washington defense did not impress me at all. Spent all week last week writing about how good that front four is, and then they did not really impress me at all. The Giants scored on 7 of their 10 drives against Washington.
Yeah. So something's wrong there, but if Buffalo gets well against Washington's defense, then it could really be a long season for Washington because there's no way Washington's going to compete, even in the NFC East, if they can't play defense. So.
No, for sure. But like I said, this one, Heineke has a little something to him. I see him as a keep games close kind of quarterback.
Okay, now let's talk since we're in that NFC East kind of vibe. Let's continue with the Monday night game because we just talked about your 4-star pick. Well, this is my 4-star pick. I'm taking the Cowboys minus the 4 against the Eagles. Boy, that Eagles-San Francisco game, I mean, the first 2 games for the Eagles have been really kind of ugly. They were able to beat Atlanta ugly, but then they lost ugly to San Francisco. For Dallas, I was just very impressed. I know they got a couple of breaks with the touchdowns that were called back. Say what you want about the breaks, whatever. The Chargers have had a ton of penalties the first couple of weeks, but the fact is the Cowboys only gave up 17 points against the Chargers offense, and that was without Lawrence, their top defensive player, and without Gregory. So I was pretty impressed by that. And I think that's a good sign for the Cowboys moving forward.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this game. I have no feel really for this game, which is why I didn't pick it. Like I could see, I thought Dallas would be much better coming into the season than the Eagles. The Eagles have impressed me even in a loss playing ugly against San Francisco. I just feel like this game could be like a yucky kind of, like Dak could throw a couple interceptions but have a massive yardage total. And Hurts, I don't really trust yet. I just have no feel. If you told me this game was a blowout, if this game was close, I'd believe you. If you told me it was high scoring, low scoring, I just don't know because I just can't get a feel for the NFC East right now. It's obviously the worst division of all the divisions, and I just can't get a feel for who the best team is. That's why I didn't pick it. I thought the line's 4? Yeah. I thought that was too high.
Well, I like the way that the Cowboys have played in this division recently, and against the Eagles. They've beaten the Eagles the last 3 times at home. They beat them the last 2 years by a 74-27 margin. You take a look at the fact that Dallas has won 9 out of 10 division home games. And I need Philadelphia to offensively to kind of look a lot better than we've seen the first 2 weeks. The defense has held them in there the first couple of weeks. But I need to see something more from Philly because as I said to you the last few weeks, I still believe the Cowboys are going to win this division.
Yeah, I mean, I think Washington's going to win it, but only if Fitzpatrick comes back. Otherwise, I would go Dallas. But look, I've been wrong about Philly. I'm not afraid to admit it. I made a lot of enemies in Philly over the offseason, just kind of writing about how bad I thought they were going to be. They're better than I thought they were going to be. They're competitive. They could win a bad division. They couldn't win a good division, but they could win a bad division.
Okay, let's stick in the NFC. And I tell you what, let's talk about that Sunday night game, the Packers in San Francisco, because this is a game we both agree on. This is your upset pick of the week. The Packers are getting about 4. They're about plus 150 on the money line. I'm taking the Packers as my 5-star getting 4. And these 2 teams have played a bunch of times in the last few years. Packers came back to beat San Francisco last year after losing in the championship game the year before, but we know that was a different San Francisco team. Green Bay looked a lot better in week 2 after what happened to them week 1 against the Saints. We knew that was going to happen. But I just think, especially looking at San Francisco last week, there's also something kind of missing there, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that their running backs are getting hurt every other play. So I like the Packers. I think they're a better team than San Francisco. The one thing I'm worried about is their best pass rushers out. The Packers, he's going to be out for a while. But I still think overall Aaron Rodgers is the man, and Aaron Jones showed that he's still a pretty awesome running back too.
Yeah, Aaron Jones was so good. Oh man, people forget him. Like we talk about McCaffrey and Cook and Barkley and Kamara. People forget how good Aaron Jones is. I think the best thing that happened to the Packers was that Week 1 shellacking against the Saints. You know how I feel about them. They're my Super Bowl pick. I saw that Week 1 shellacking, and I say, you know what? Good. I'm glad it happened because I think it was a little bit of a wake-up call. Obviously, all the drama they had during the offseason, I think it was a little bit of a wake-up call. Obviously, the 49ers have kind of been a thorn in the side of the Packers. They humiliated them twice in the same season a couple years back. Last year doesn't really get you any vengeance because the 49ers were a shell of themselves. I think the Packers need to win this game as kind of to make a statement. Everybody's ready to say the best teams in the NFC are all in the West. The 49ers, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Rams. Everybody just says whoever survives that murderer's row is the best team in the NFC. And I think this is a chance for the Packers to be like, hey, hello, us. You forgot about us. And so I think they kind of make a statement victory. I think they win this one outright, probably by a score.
All right.
7. And by a score, I mean a touchdown.
And we'll find out whether or not Trey Lance gets in. I thought that was kind of funny. Now Shanahan. See, the thing that he shouldn't have done was actually play him a little bit the first game, because now if he doesn't play, why didn't you play him? What happened? Yeah. So anyway, all right. Also in the NFC, now this is a big game for Minnesota. You talk about, of course I had 2 upsets last week that went down to the wire that drove me nuts, and this was one of them. Minnesota losing that game to Arizona. If I'm a Viking fan watching that game, it was a thrilling fourth quarter. And to lose the way that they did on a field goal. Now, look, I know Joseph hit the 53-yarder to send him to overtime against Cincinnati, and he's 3 for 3 for 50+. Then he comes in with the game on the line, 37-yard field goal, and you can't – every NFL kicker should make 37-yard field goals. And he couldn't make it. He choked. Or say what you want. Again, like I said, I don't think when you're kicking a 53-yard field goal, there's a lot of pressure on you. There's more pressure when you're trying to kick a 37-yarder and your team is 0-1 and you're in that situation. But the fact is, the Vikings are in desperate mode now at 0-2. They cannot afford to go 0-3. But you and I still like Seattle. You like Seattle so much that it's your 5-star pick.
Yes, I do. I think Seattle losing that game last week, gut punch kind of loss. I think this game has their attention, and I think it's funny. They both lost. Seattle and Minnesota both lost like heartbreaking kind of games, and this is almost a pick based off history that I think Seattle has winning players, a winning coach who know how to rebound who take a tough loss and spin it into, okay, well, we can't let this fester. And Minnesota, who I picked as a playoff team before the season, has traditionally been kind of weak-spined in like 1 loss spirals into 2 losses, spirals into 3 losses, and then they have a lot of ground to catch up, and that's kind of where I see this headed. I'm stunned the line is so small.
I think a lot of it is based on Mike Zimmer's overall history. He's actually he's been a very good coach. Again, we're talking about gambling because that's where the point spread comes in, in a lot of these spots. But last year wasn't a good year. They almost came up.
Do you have the Zimmer or the Vikings off a loss? Do you have anything like that?
Let's see. I got a few things here. I've got Minnesota has covered 6 straight at home following a straight-up loss when they're playing a team that's 500 or better.
Okay.
When Mike Zimmer has been the coach, they've covered – well, this is different. They're just 9-3 against the spread as a home dog under Zimmer. And here's a good one. Zimmer is 5-0 against the spread as a home dog following a loss. Now, again, that's home
Those would all
dog.
tell you I'm wrong.
But again, it's home dog following a loss. You know, if they're a home favorite following a loss, that's a different story. You know, if it's a road game following a loss, it's a different story. But this is the spot that
none of those apply here.
Exactly. So the one that applies here.
I mean, I think this would be a good test for what the gambling numbers tell you versus what my eyesight tells me from years of watching the NFL.
Well, look, an exact. If you flip it over to Seattle, they're 16-3 against the spread in their last 19 when they've lost a game as a favorite. When they're taking on an opponent with a winning percentage of under 60%. So this is also a very good spot for Seattle. So we'll see what breaks. By the way, Seattle has beaten Minnesota the last 3 years. That's interesting considering they're not even division opponents.
Yeah, it feels like the Giants play Tampa every year. Sometimes that just happens. 49ers play the Packers every year. Sometimes that just happens.
Yeah. All right, and then the other one is the biggest one, and that's Tampa Bay in the NFC at the Rams. And it was Rams won, I believe, as early as Monday. It moved to Tampa Bay 1.5 quickly after that. The Bucs have won 10 straight. And these teams have also played a bunch of times recently. So much so that the dog in the series has won 3 straight, including when the Rams upset the Bucs last year as a 4-point road dog in Tampa. That was not...
I think that's Tampa's last loss.
No, actually, I was going to say that was not their last loss. The last loss was the week after when Tampa Bay lost to Kansas City. So they lost those back-to-back games at home. And then after that, they never lost again. So anyway, look, I think if Tampa Bay is in this, like you are right now, you know, where it's like, you know, you're yawning, it's a late, when are we going to play a good team? Then
you caught my yawn there. Huh?
So, you know, when are we going to play competition? If that's the way that they are, then okay. But I just think that there's a little bit. I don't know if they could just turn it on like that quickly. The Rams may be the perfect thing to happen to them before they play the Patriots. Maybe they get a slap in the head and then go up to New England when Brady needs to win the most. But this would be a great matchup because the Rams defense is the type of defense that can cause Brady problems. That's happened over his career. That inside pass rush always causes him problems.
That's
and
true.
Then we'll find
the Giants formula.
Yep, and then we'll find out how good the Rams offense is.
Have you seen the stat that the Bucs are the 3rd team ever to win at least 8 in a row while scoring 30 points or more?
Oh, really? Okay.
Can you guess the other 2 teams?
Were those Super Bowl teams or just any teams?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason I'm asking you this.
Okay. They've scored at least 30 points in a row in 8 straight games.
And won all the games.
Okay.
There's a reason I'm asking you this, Greg.
There's a reason? Okay.
You're overthinking it.
Patriots?
Correct.
Is that
both times?
Both times. Okay.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
When was that?
No,
what
I don't
years?
What
years were they?
07 and 7 and 12, maybe 7 and 12.
Was that one of them was probably the Moss year, I would think.
One was the year they went undefeated before losing to the Giants. Okay. Yeah. So yes, my point being that I'm not. He has 9 touchdowns in the last 2 games. If this is them sleepwalking,
yeah.
I don't want to see them awake.
Well, that's the thing.
Like I said, I think they could. I don't think it's too early to talk about the fact that they could go 17-0. I think they're that good. So, I think this is a good test. I think the Rams are really good. I think you're looking at maybe the 1st and 3rd best teams in the entire NFL. So I think it could. As good as the Chiefs-Ravens game was, I'll be disappointed if this game isn't in that same vein.
Yep, it should be. And by the way, the reason why I'm not as gung-ho on Tampa Bay as you are is the fact that, just like Kansas City, Tampa Bay has lost the yardage battle in both games. So they've got to play better.
What does that mean? Do you have any stats on that? I mean,
it is. Teams usually don't have winning records when they lose the yardage battle. It's just a fact. Yeah. You know, sure. There's always going to be games like when you're beating a team by a ton and they score a bunch of crazy points and you give up a bunch of yards and it don't mean nothing. But over a 16, 17 game season, you better win the yardage more than you lose the yardage or you're not going to be a winning team. Okay, so that's those are most of the NFC matchups. But let's talk about AFC, NFC. Let's talk about those Patriots because they're taking on the Saints. And I have no idea what to think about the Saints. Now, the Saints we both liked last week, but I don't know about you. Once we got to the weekend, and then it was the whole COVID thing with the coaches, and then Davenport was out, and I was starting to think about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm a little bit more worried about this game than I thought about it towards the beginning of the week.
Why?
What's that?
Why?
Well, because I just felt that when you come off that blowout win that first week, and then you've got the coaches out, and then you have the your top pass rusher, second top pass rusher out, you know, a couple other injuries. You're kind of thinking, all right, is something maybe there's something here that's just not the way I like it because Drew Brees is not behind center. And sure enough, as soon as that game started and Carolina looked the way they did and New Orleans looked the way they did, I figured it was going to be a long day. And it was. And that's what I'm a little bit afraid of with the Saints now. I don't know if they can just turn it right back on again when Drew Brees isn't under center.
Yeah. No, that's a very good question. I don't know. I honestly don't know what to make of this game either. That's why I picked fewer games this week than I usually pick because I feel like it's a really interesting slate of games. While we're talking about, I know we're talking about New Orleans, but I got to ask you, I've been dying to ask you all week. What'd you come away of Sam Darnold, Greg? Did you say, oh, God, I knew he was going to be awesome as soon as the Jets traded him. We should have never traded this kid. What did you think of Darnold? Because he looked really good last week.
Honestly, I haven't. No. I think that he can't look worse than he did with the Jets. He's too talented. But do I think he's going to all of a sudden become the quarterback that the Jets were hoping he was going to become? No. I do not think he is going to have this second rebirth and become an all-pro.
Okay. I know a lot of Jets fans who do think that.
I know. Because there's a lot of Jet fans that always think the worst. I'm not one of them. So, no.
Okay.
I wish him best. I think he can do okay. And look, when you have Christian McCaffrey and you have a good defense, and again, the other thing, too, is we always talk about this in any NFL season. It's always about matchups early in the season. And if you're looking at Sam Darnold, he probably, and the Carolina Panthers in general, they couldn't have picked a better way to start the season. They play the Jets in week 1. And then in week 2, you played a Saint team that came off the blowout, that had all this issues coming into the game. So I don't know what Carolina is going to look like. And we're not even going to find out when they're playing Houston without Tyrod Taylor, how they're going to look until I don't even know who they play who do they play next, Carolina? They play, let's see. I don't even know who they play next. They got to play somebody better than Houston, that's for sure. So we're not going to find out truly about Carolina for a while. But if that's a long way of answering your question. They're playing Dallas on the road next week. Okay. Anyway, I like the Patriots in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I like the Patriots in this one. I just think it's fascinating to see these two teams playing without Drew Brees and Tom Brady.
Yeah,
it's
very different.
But no, I like the Patriots. Look, I liked what I saw from the Patriots last week. I know it was the Jets, but I like what I saw. I saw a quarterback in Mac Jones who's just doing exactly what they ask him to do, right? Like not forcing the issue. I saw a secondary harass. We know Bill Belichick's record against rookie quarterbacks is unbelievable, but it's not the same secondary it used to be. Sure, no problem. Still, the defense looked as good as ever. No problem. Ho-hum. And I think that's probably what they'll do. They'll force Jameis Winston into they'll tempt him into, I can hit that guy across the middle, 45 yards downfield. Boom, safety comes over, interception, take it the other way. You just know they're going to tempt him into something that looks delicious, and then he's going to find out that take a bite right out of the apple. So
yeah, speaking with Evan Lazar on the Patriots show this week, he did say that what the Patriots need to do, Josh McDaniels, knows it, Mac Jones knows it, is they have to start to throw the ball a little bit more aggressively down the field. That's all. Even if you're going to make a mistake, you've got to take a few chances every now and then. And I would expect that they're going to do that, take a few shots this week. But yeah, that's just shows you the difference between both rookie quarterbacks. One rookie quarterback is playing for a stable organization.
Yeah.
All he has to do is not make mistakes. And the other guy, it's like, all right, just go out there. And this is all about just playing and being aggressive. And, we're just, this is about building a franchise for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. So have at it, Jack. And when that happens, you're going to have those types of days. Also, AFC NFC matchup. This is one of my upset picks, and that is Josh Fields getting his first start, because that's what it looks like. And look, I'm not doing it because I like Josh Fields and I think he's going to have a great game and he's going to be a great quarterback, but this happens a lot in the NFL. When the starting quarterback goes out and the backup comes in, more often than not, over 50% of the time, the team with the backup quarterback in that first game is either A, going to pull up the upset and win, or they're going to play a lot better than people think, because the team will always rally around the quarterback for one game. So I can see that happening, especially the way the Browns looked last week.
The Browns looked like a team that was sleepwalking. You used that term again about the Bucs against the Falcons. Yeah. I don't know. Tom Brady's 5 touchdown passes didn't look like sleepwalking. The Browns look like a team that's sleepwalking.
That's how great Tom Brady is. He can sleepwalk and still throw 5 touchdown passes.
I thought Baker Mayfield was a sleeper MVP candidate coming into this season. He has not had a good 2 games. He's had some yards, but not the touchdowns. They kind of look like they just wanted to survive the Texans, and then obviously they didn't because Jarvis Landry got hurt. So
aren't you? If you're
Odell Beckham's supposed to be back this week.
Who's that? Beckham.
Beckham's
and I want to see exactly what happens to the passing offense, because when Beckham was out the first few weeks, Baker wasn't throwing to any of his outside receivers. It's like. Why? I mean, Donovan Peoples-Jones has got like 2 targets in 2 games. Yeah. What are you doing?
Here's what I'll say. I remember having a conversation with ESPN's Dan Orlovsky, who I think does a great job. And he said that the Browns offense with Odell and without Odell is startling. Like when Odell is out there, Baker tries to force it to him. Like, I got to get Odell his 8 targets, or he hasn't had a target in 3 in the last 2 series. I got to get to, and when he's not, he goes through his progressions like a normal quarterback does. But so that's a knock, right? That makes it sound like it's a bad thing to have Odell. I think right now they need Odell. They need him to force the ball to Odell. I think it could be the best we've seen Odell and Baker look, because right now the Browns need Baker, the Browns need Odell, and Odell needs the Browns. So I think you could be seeing something pretty special, assuming Odell's healthy and not just rushing himself back.
And look, I still kind of lean, of course, towards Cleveland winning this game, but I think there's a shot for Chicago to make this interesting, maybe to steal the win. Nice storyline is Fields, the Ohio State quarterback, gets his first start. It looks like it's going to be in Ohio. So that sounds. By the way, next week Cleveland goes to Minnesota, so there'll be a nice storyline with Stefanski going back to Minnesota. And I'm going to give you the Chicago Bears, Cleveland Browns crazy trend of the week.
Okay.
The Bears have won 9 straight versus the AFC North. You ready for this? Cleveland is 1-12 straight up. Their last 13 versus the NFC North.
Well, I believe that because they only play them once every 4 years, and the Browns are pretty terrible every 4 out of every 5 years. So I believe that. The Bears one's a little surprising.
Yeah, crazy trends of the week there for Chicago and Cleveland. Anyway, if
so, pick Chicago.
Well, I did. They were one of my upsets.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, but again, it's not because of the trend.
I thought you said you leaned toward Cleveland winning the game. So you just have
Yeah,
Chicago
yeah,
cover.
yeah, and that's like last
Got
week. I had the 4 upsets. I didn't think all 4 teams would win, but that's why you do it. You do it because you have a feeling that you can steal a couple of games, which is exactly what happened. I actually could have won all 4, but I had no luck. All right, so let's now get to another AFC NFC matchup. This is one of your top picks, and I was thinking about this as a top pick too, and this is the Baltimore game. And actually, it's not one of your top picks. It's one of your picks in general. It's one of your additional picks. So we both have Baltimore as an additional pick, as a 7-point favorite against Detroit. And yeah, I look, Baltimore, they got to feel awfully good about the fact they're not 0-2. Detroit, you can see that they're building something, but they just don't have the manpower, and they're playing. They're playing good teams.
Why is this spread not bigger? I thought Denver's is 10.5, right? And last week we saw 14 and we saw 13. Why is this spread not bigger?
Well, San Francisco was favored by 8 in this matchup.
Yeah, but that was before we saw how not good Detroit is.
The only thing I could think of is, again, you're talking about anytime you're a double-digit dog at home. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, has Baltimore really looked good? Because they really haven't.
I mean, they look good at the end of that Kansas City game. Kansas City, you look pretty good.
And by the way, that Baltimore. Let's keep in mind about what won it for Baltimore, and that was Jackson's legs again. And and Kansas City.
We talk about this. I say this every time we talk about Lamar Jackson. He is built for the regular season, especially early in the regular season when his legs are fresh, and they're always going to be a good regular season team. They are, and I was surprised they lost to the Raiders. I wore that Las Vegas shirt last week to eat my crow, but I'll keep riding Baltimore as long as I possibly can.
All right, so yeah, and I agree with you in this one. A 7-point spread seems like it's probably a little bit too low. So
that's what scares me. I feel like I'm falling victim to some gambler's trap right here. That strikes me as a 17-point Baltimore win.
Well, the only other thing I could say is they were coming off, a prime time, exhausting win. And now they're playing Detroit, where it's like how emotionally they're just not going to be up for this game, you would think. So all right. Meanwhile, another AFC NFC matchup: Arizona 7.5 over Jacksonville. And I was actually thinking about Jacksonville in this one, but then I said, but Arizona, even if because the sandwich game, they opened the season, it's a big opening game win. Then the Minnesota game goes down to the wire. Next week, they're going to be going to the Rams. And here we got to go travel cross country to face the Jags. So I can see a little bit of a letdown here from a young, inexperienced winning team. But Jacksonville's just so bad that I just think that Arizona will find a way to cover with 3 or 4 minutes to go if they have to.
Yeah, it's funny. Last week, it's funny. I don't know what to make of Kyler Murray's game last week. I don't know what to make of it. Yeah. Was he the NFC Player of the Week, or was he the guy who didn't look as good in week 2 as he did in week 1? I don't know. It was a very strange game. They were very lucky to win. I looked up the stats today. Teams make 60% of 40 plus yard field goals now. To miss a 37-yarder in today's NFL is almost unheard of. I mean,
it's an extra point.
It's unbelievable. So Arizona is very lucky to have won that game. I think you're right. I think they could go to Jacksonville, and it could be a tough spot for a team that's inexperienced winning to be a huge favorite on the road. But I think there's a pretty significant challenge. If you told me they were going to Atlanta or going to the Giants or something and in this same spot, I'd say, okay, maybe one of those teams could pull this off. But I think Jacksonville and the Jets are pretty clearly the 2 worst teams right now.
And the other thing, too, is that I think we have to give Murray a little bit of the benefit of the doubt is they are not. It's almost like Josh Allen. They are not running the football. It's everything is about throwing the football with Kyler Murray, and the more you do that, the more he's going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So you got to give him a running game. That's why I got rid of James Conner in our dynasty league. I go, what am I holding on to this guy for? He's never going to get any carries. All right, so now let's talk about the AFC matchups. And here's one. This is my 3-star pick. It's the Chargers getting 7 from the Chiefs. And why shouldn't I take the points? Because the Kansas City Chiefs, if you take a look at their spread record now, 1, 11, and 1 in their last 13.
Wow.
That is and they're winning. But you know what was funny is, remember we talked about they were 10 and 1.
I feel like you're cheating.
No.
You have all these numbers. You don't send them to me.
If you want them, I can, but you don't want the trends, you say.
Well, I don't know. That one's pretty alarming.
Okay. I'll forward you the newsletter every week. You got it.
That's pretty alarming.
You get it.
Yeah.
So anyway, remember we talked
that one haunts me a little bit because I was on the fence about picking this game. I was leaning towards the Chargers. And then I said, am I really going to make a pick against the Chiefs? Am I really going to sit here and pick against the Chiefs? What am I, crazy? But if I saw that number, I might have done it.
Because remember last week we talked about the fact, and here's the other record. They're 10 and 1 straight up, 10 and 1 against the spread in their last 11 one-score games. And last week, when they were about to kick the field goal, the first thing I said to myself just before the handoff to Clyde Edwards-Helaire was, they're going to win another game and not cover. That's the first thing I thought about, and then he fumbled the football. And then but that's what would have happened. They would have won another game without covering. So anyway, that's kind of the reason. Plus, the Chargers have won 2 of the last 3 in Kansas City. So this is a situation.
Well, one of them didn't count, really. One of them, they played like Chad Henne. So,
anyway.
I mean, to me, that doesn't count. I mean,
But look, the Chargers have got to fix things up because the first 2 games they've played, the Washington game, remember we told you how ugly that game with the penalties, and they had a bunch of penalties against the Cowboys. I don't know if this is, to me, that's a head coaching thing. And we talked about Staley, and he's a just whiz defensive coordinator, but he has no experience as a head coach.
Yeah. As you know, I like the Chargers. I think they're an 11-win team. I couldn't pick I don't know. We'll go this whole season, and I won't pick against the Chiefs. I just don't think you can pick against the team. You could go get yourself a soda, and they could have missed 14 points. I don't think you can do that.
Okay, now let's move on and talk about another AFC matchup, and that is going to be the New York Jets and Denver. Denver's a 10.5 point favorite in this one, and you
could have probably made yourself some good money. You of course should have done this because you thought I didn't think Denver was very good. You thought Denver was a playoff team. You could have probably made yourself some good money betting that Denver would have started 3-0. I don't know who would have thought that.
Oh, you mean if there was a wager on it? Yeah.
Yeah, if you could have found a place that would take a wager on Denver 3-0 to start the season, I can't imagine the odds were good. And yet, in hindsight, of course they're going to be 3-0.
Schedule. Yeah.
Jets, Jaguars, and Giants. Yeah. I mean, of course they're going to be 3-0. Yeah. They're going to be 3-0 and not in my top 20 in my power rankings. That's the softest 3-0 you could possibly be.
But next week they host Baltimore.
Yeah, well then we'll find out.
This is the home opener for Denver. They've won 18 of the last 21 home openers against non-division teams. And I expect that's going to be 19-3. Look, Zach Wilson can't play any worse than last week, so he'll be better. If you look at it, the Jets actually improved. Everybody actually improved for the Jets except Zach Wilson because the offensive line gave the Jets a running game. The defense actually played well enough. They actually outgained the Patriots, but it was one of those games. There's nothing you could do. When the quarterback is just constantly throwing the ball away, there's nothing you can do.
4 of his first 10 passes were intercepted.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah,
that's actually, I thought, where the Jets did themselves a disservice by not having Nick Foles or
you mean to mentor
whoever.
Or to play?
Both. In that regard, I thought all season they should have had him to mentor. In that scenario, they should have had him to go into the game and just give Zach Wilson hey man, take the rest of the day off. You can't. I mean. Just go, and they don't obviously trust Mike White to do that. If you had some backup quarterback. If you had a Josh McCown or somebody to do that, then you could just do that and sit. Jack Wilson could watch from the sideline, end his day. Just kind of take a mental health day, which is what I need after my computer broke.
Yeah,
So,
I've noticed that. But look, that's what I said before. The Jets and Robert Saleh, it's about we're throwing all these kids into the kitchen sink, and we're just going to play them. And that's how that's how we're building this team. And you better hope that, and that's why they had to make sure that a guy like Zach Wilson was going to be able to handle the adversity, because otherwise they never would have drafted him, because that's their philosophy, which is going to play the kids. The secondary are going to play the kids. All the kids are going to play, and they're just going to have to mentally be strong, and it'll be better for them down the road. All right.
Yeah, it's a gutsy strategy. I mean, it's a very, very gutsy strategy. Yep. I don't know. I mean, I think you risk having covered a team that's played a lot of young guys, the Giants. I think you can lose guys mentally by doing that. So.
Okay, and then Miami and Vegas. The one thing that scares me about this game, what I just said it about Chicago, Miami's playing a backup quarterback in game one. So it's
a lot of backup quarterbacks this week.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. Don't forget, Miami played their backup Fitzpatrick last year in this game when they beat Vegas.
That was an awesome game.
Yes, it
right?
was.
Isn't that the game that ended on the Hail Mary or something like a crazy?
That was the game that it was a string. Oh, that was the one when the Raiders were like going to win, and then Miami threw
Fitzpatrick
that 40-yard pass to like midfield, and then the very next play they got him in field goal range and they kicked the field goal and won. Yeah,
it was a crazy game.
Vegas did something stupid too. Like when they had the ball before that, I don't remember what they did, but they did something stupid.
I was thinking about you on my couch, around 3:30 on Sunday when Vegas beat Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
They certainly have something going. They're better than I thought they were. You're having a good run here. Good picks, good preseason picks. Vegas is better than I thought they were. Derek Carr got off to a really good start to his career. People forget that. And then the last 3 or 4 years have been kind of a malaise. And Derek Carr, he threw for 382 against Pittsburgh. That's those are big boy numbers. So yeah, he should be able to win this game. But like you said, all the other games you mentioned, Greg, I'm like, well, the backup quarterback's worse than the starting quarterback.
Of course.
I'm not so sure that Jacoby Brissett's worse than Tua Tagovailoa.
At this point, yeah, it's possible. Yeah. It's possible. And then, of course, you have to – Vegas, this is the first time they're favored this year. It's one thing to be the underdog. It's another thing to be the favorite when you're supposed to win. So
is it in Vegas or is it in Miami?
It's in Vegas. They're a 4-point favorite in this one. And look, this is a big game for Miami. Because
I'm going to do it again, Greg. Throw this on my picks. I like it. Throw it on. Tack it on the bottom. Add it to I did this to you last week. A spur of the moment pick.
Who was that last week? Do you remember?
I don't. Washington, and I lost.
Oh, okay. But they won the game, but you lost. Yeah.
Yeah. Throw it on the bottom. Add the Raiders. I'm jumping on the Greg bandwagon. Give me the Raiders.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I picked them, but I just, I couldn't pick them as a top pick because of that backup thing. I'm a little bit concerned about that. And look, this is a huge game for Miami because if they go 1-2, and 2 is out for who knows another week or two, their season can get lost pretty quick.
Correct.
And they host Indianapolis next week, so anything can go there. By the way, Flores is 9-4. Against the spread on the road as a road dog with 6 outright wins.
Wow.
So he does a pretty good job and they did it against the Patriots in week 1 as an underdog on the road.
Oh, I sat in this same chair and I mocked you a couple weeks ago for Raiders and Broncos, and now I'm picking them both to go 3-0. Right? The NFL's a wild league, man.
It goes by quick. But things can change pretty fast, too, in the next couple of weeks. Okay, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. We both agree on this one. I was shocked to see this line was only 3. And you have him as a 3-star. I was very close to putting him as a 3-star, with TJ Watt especially. See, if TJ Watt was not going to play, then I'd be like, well, maybe. But now it looks like he's going to play. It's like, I mean, come on, he's worth 3 points, TJ Watt.
Well, yeah, that's not true.
Well, I'm just saying, that defense is that much more effective with him on the field. Yeah. And this is the Cincinnati Bengals we're still talking about. I mean, if they didn't get that Josh Fields stupid call by the Bears to have him throw the ball with 3 minutes to go and a 2-point lead in his own 10-yard line, then that would have been a 2-score loss to the Bears.
Yep.
So I don't know why. You're obviously joining the bandwagon and taking Pittsburgh. I just can't understand why they're only a 3-point favorite.
I agree. There were a couple lines this week that surprised me. Pittsburgh was one, Seattle was one, and Baltimore was one.
Keep in mind, Seattle upset Pittsburgh as 14-point home dogs last December when Pittsburgh started to nosedive. Cincinnati's next game will be Thursday night at home against Jacksonville.
Everybody gets a primetime game. It's like Oprah. It's like, you get a primetime game. You get a primetime game. Everybody gets primetime game.
Pittsburgh's at Green Bay next week. They better win this week. Okay, Indianapolis at Tennessee. And this is going to be where we're going to go head-to-head. And this is not a surprise because you're more of a Tennessee guy and I'm more of an Indianapolis guy. So I'm taking Indianapolis as one of my upset picks. I'm getting 2-1 on the money line. You are going to take Tennessee as one of your additional picks, giving 5. If Wentz doesn't play, I get the backup quarterback first game thing. So I'm okay with that. Keep in mind,
even when his name is Jacob Eason?
Yeah, I know. Keep in mind, Indianapolis has won the last 3 in Tennessee. The road team in the series has covered 5 straight. Tennessee, wow, what a game last week because they did not look good early in that game. Seattle gets off to the lead. Derrick Henry can't run the football, and he didn't run the ball against Arizona. And I'm going, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, it just started to work. And then they just kept feeding Henry, and it's 30-yard gain, big gain here. Julio Jones finally getting into the action. And they turned their season around really quick. And or it would have been a battle of 0-2 teams.
I like the new Derrick Henry who catches the ball too. I mean,
that's big. Yes.
I wish I knew that for fantasy purposes, but no, I mean, look, he looked like a monster again. It almost looked like in the second half against Seattle, Tennessee was like, yeah, you know what? We have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones and all, but why don't we just go back to what's worked for the last 3 years? And I expect that's what they'll do to Indianapolis. I expect Tennessee will have a big time of possession advantage in this game. I expect Jacob Eason will play in this game, and I think unlimited possessions, asking him to score enough points to win a game is a big, tall ask.
Yeah, because I don't know how much of the game you watched last week. Look, this is all Frank Reich. They get the ball down at the 1-yard line, and what does he do against one of the best, if not the best? They're probably second best at Tampa Bay in interior run defense. And what does he do? He's trying to play smash mouth football with that team. All he had to do was spread everybody out and run the football. And I'm sure he would have found a crease. Instead, he's playing smash mouth football not once, not twice, then 3 times, and then he calls that crazy, we're going to fake it on 4th down.
Yeah, I like I'm a big fan of the QB draw. Spread them out, QB draw on the goal line. I'm a big fan of that.
That could work too, especially with a guy like Wentz. And then they come down to the field in the next quarter, and Wentz throws that shovel pass interception at the 2-yard line. Yeah. That's 14 points. And then they still had the ball with a chance to tie and win it late. And then Carson Wentz. And then all of a sudden, you're watching the game, and it's like, why is Jacob Eason in this game? Leave it up to Carson Wentz to not have 1 but 2 ankle injuries in the same week. All right, so we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, let's see. What else do we have left here in the AFC? Do we have anything left in the AFC? I think that's it, actually. Yeah, that's it. We've run the gamut. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. What you got going on right now as far as the post?
It's a crazy day at Giants camp. So got a lot up there. Crazy day.
Anything in
Obviously,
particular?
we have Jason Garrett downplaying his fight with Kenny Galladay on the sideline on Thursday. Kadarius Toney having to apologize for calling all media clowns. Trying to figure out his role in the offense. The three other Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith all have at least 87 yards and a touchdown so far. The fourth wide receiver pick, Kadarius Toney, has -2 yards on 2 catches so far. So
You brought up a good point on Twitter when you brought up about would this be an opportune time to trade Toney to Jacksonville?
Yeah. And then talked to Eli Manning today. Obviously his numbers being retired on Sunday. One of the rare joyous days at MetLife Stadium about now. And he made an interesting point. I thought it was interesting. I hope people read it. He said basically he left it open as he might have still been playing if it wasn't for all the losing. And he contributed to the losing, obviously, with his play. But basically the losing wore him out. That's why he retired. He just couldn't take the losing anymore as he got older.
And if you don't believe that it's going to turn around, then yeah. I mean, and I like the fact that he didn't go anywhere else.
Yes,
that's also kind of cool if you're a Giant fan.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's amazing, those 3 quarterbacks. Roethlisberger. We always say, like, how many times did we say, like, who were the guys drafted this year? Like, we said 4 first-round quarterbacks. We said, oh, well, one of them's not going to work out between Wilson,
Lawrence, and Fields, and
Lawrence, and
Jones.
We're like, well, at least two of them are going to flop. And you say that every year. And Rivers, Roethlisberger, and Eli, none of them flopped. So.
Yeah, they all had different careers, but 2 of them won Super Bowls. And one ended up like one of the greatest quarterbacks to never win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. So, does Toney get traded to Jacksonville?
No, I don't think so. No.
You think that'll
It's too early to trade him?
Okay. All right, we'll see.
Yeah.